Happy New Year, kids! I thought we would start out this first series of the new year by going back to the beginning, like the beginning of the Bible with the book of Genesis and the creation story there. You know, there are actually two stories of how God created the world in the opening chapters of Genesis, not just one. The first paints a picture of a God who created the heavens and the earth and is very powerful and majestic, but you don't really expect this God to hang out with people. I mean, you just kind of expect this God to be way out in the heavens someplace, having created the earth and then maybe walked away. But the second creation account in Genesis 2 and 3, well, that one makes out God to be pretty close. In fact, astonishingly close, like God walks through a garden and talks with people. Well, that's why I'm at a very special garden today. This is a garden in Omaha, Nebraska, where I came for the holidays. And it sits on the Tri-Faith Commons, which is where a synagogue, right here, that's where Jewish people worship, and a mosque, which is way kind of across there, campus there, and a church, that is my old church. They all built new facilities and also a common center, which is right there, in order to move beyond just talking to one another or about one another and actually being around one another and having a good relationship with each other on a regular basis. And well, they planted a garden here a couple of years ago, and well, when it's not winter time and snowed over, this garden is just full of some of the most beautiful fruits and vegetables you'd ever see. And you see Jewish people and Muslim people and Christian people all tending the garden together. It's really cool. Well, back to our story. The book of Genesis in chapter 3 says that one day God was, after creating Adam and Eve, was walking through the garden at the time of the evening breeze, hoping to meet up with them. It's like, I just find that so amazing, almost unbelievable. I mean, think about it. I mean, in our world, when people are really powerful and important, or at least when we think people are powerful and important, they tend to be farther and farther removed from the lives of everyday people. And, you know, that may not even be their own choice. Their schedules are so busy that even if they want to be with regular people, they have no time. I mean, I figure that's why Bono of the rock group U2 has never returned a call of mine. I mean, it's not that he doesn't want to get together with me, it's just that if he doesn't have time to return a call, how could he get together? Anyway, you think of somebody like Bono or somebody like the President of the United States, if they're super busy all the time, if they don't have time for the likes of me or others, think about God. I mean, a God who created the universe? This God has a lot to manage. I mean, next time you're at the beach, just look at the sand. And, I'll bet there is a planet for every single grain of sand on Earth out there in the universe someplace. Maybe even a whole galaxy of planets. But one way or the other, that's a lot of planets and probably a lot of life to be looking after too. And so the thought of God actually coming to Earth and much less walking around and talking with us just seems maybe hard to believe. And yet, what I do know is that at times when I call out to God, especially like in a crisis, like when I'm really anxious, or when I'm just really joyful and just want to bring God into my life and give thanks, a good part of me doesn't expect to hear from God at all, just because God must be really busy. And yet God somehow seems to answer regularly. Not with words, but with a feeling or a thought or both. And it seems to come from not just from within me only. In fact, sometimes those thoughts contradict what I was thinking to begin with. No, I'm pretty sure God answers pretty regularly when I really want to talk. And I know I'm not the only one. Maybe your parents have stories about God speaking with them in ways that they didn't hear but can still perceive. Or maybe you yourself have had some experiences like that. Might be worth talking with them about that after worship today. In any case, I and you and your parents, we're not the only ones. People have been encountering a God that they didn't expect to encounter for centuries and centuries and centuries. That's why in the book of Genesis, I don't think it was so surprising to them actually that God would come and walk around and talk with the likes of us. Heck, maybe if I stay here long enough, I'll actually see God physically myself. If only in the form of a Muslim person from the mosque or a Jewish person from the synagogue who God may speak to me through. Where do you find God coming to you in your life? Where do you feel God's presence? What ideas do you think that God has put into your head? I've pretty much found that whenever there's a feeling or a thought that has to do with love, I've got the feeling God is right here. Maybe as far away as the most distant star, and yet as close as my next breath. Will you pray with me? Holy God, we have no idea how you do it. How you could be a part of all the universe and yet still be able to speak or be with us or even care about us. We have no idea how it works, but we just know that it happens. We thank you for loving us enough to pay attention, to hear us when we call out to you, whether in joy or in pain, and to even speak to us through creation and through other people in our lives. Amen.